Talk to us a little bit about how the series has evolved since you published the first book.
Yeah, so the entire series is kind of just bubbled. I think in my head, at the beginning, there was this one book that was going to be written, and it was just the prophecy of the seventh Elizabeth. And I had pieces of that book done at the beginning portion and the end portion, and I just knew that I would be able to finish it all. It took a really long time. First book took about 5 years to create. And I really wrote a lot of it when I was sitting on airplanes, on my little Windows 6 phone, typing in everything. But when I got about halfway through the book, when I thought what I thought was halfway through the book, I realized that it was more than one book, and so ended up saying, okay, well, let me take all these ending portions, put them off to the side. Let me take the beginning portions, put them in the front. And I knew there was a centerpiece that was there. The actual one of a really big battle. I knew that we could concentrate on that centerpiece and get to a middle point and kind of stop. And then it was a good breaking point for bringing up the second book as well. So it has evolved since then, though. I originally, like I said, I thought there was one. Now there's several series out of it. And so I really think it's kind of cool because you have the E7 Prophecy series, which is the beginning of everything. But it really turned into a universe. And so during the writing of book 2, I realized that there were so many other stories that I wanted to tell within that book 2 that really didn't concentrate on the actual original story, kind of getting through it. So I had to pull those aside and decided that those would be just little mini stories of their own. And that whole series would be called the Acts of the Dragons, which really concentrates mostly on the main characters, the 4 children, and how they interact with just society, human beings, and how they make friends, and how in that same time they get into trouble, and how they get out of that trouble and how they solve it. And that kind of evolved into its own thing. And there are several of those books out, and there's several more to come. They're just all lining up. But out of that second book as well, there's a lot of other launching points that happen. So there are major characters that are introduced in the second book, which is the Agents of Acts. And there are 12 agents that were appointed by the President of the United States through with the help of the United Nations. So all the member nations contributed certain people to the team. And they were assigned through prophecy. They were assigned to help Elizabeth and the Set family kind of get through this and solve this worldwide problem of really human trafficking is what it was focused on. And that storyline or those characters ended up that they are now a separate series in its own. So a separate series would be the Agents of Acts. And the Agents of Acts kind of happens or takes place, their own series takes place after the end of book 2, but they are introduced during book 2. And then through writing the Acts of the Dragons series, more came out of that, and just something new just kind of branched out of that. And there were new characters, but the entire prophecy or the E7 universe really doesn't take place just on Earth and never really did. It was always something that was going to take place in space or through other planets as well. But I didn't realize that those would get developed so early on. So in the early part of book 2, we start to introduce characters that are going to be in a separate series, which is the 0 to 10 series. And so if you start reading those books, there's little Easter eggs all throughout it that kind of line up all of those characters. And then that series, again, is huge and very special. I think everyone will really like that series because it's a little bit different than the rest of the series, but it involves everything. And there's so many cross stories, and it's just absolutely wonderful. And I guess we can talk about that later. But the series, so really that's why we say there's many series, but just one universe, and so everything connects together. Most of the characters that you'll see inside of the book come back in one form or another, even ones that you think, well, they were just introduced a little bit. I wonder what that was about. They're coming back.
They get their own book.
They get their own book, or they show up in multiple books,